In a new breaking story from the New York Post, the Biden administration has been exposed flying underage migrants into New York in the dead of night. In these jurisdictions run by Democrats, you think I'm going to defend those police departments? They stand by watching Joe Biden smuggle illegal immigrant children into this country in the dead of night in secret. These cops know. Tell me these cops are good cops, and I will show you a liar. A group of between 10 and 15 people wearing matching white baseball caps and carrying duffel bags got off the plane and onto a charter bus. I'm sorry. When the police are complicit in human trafficking, abolish the police. Come on. No. You want to talk about duly elected sheriffs? You want to talk about deputies? Okay. We'll have a conversation. You want to talk about local cops, their appointees, the political whims by which they serve? And I don't care which cop you are. I don't care who you work for. I don't care if you're elected. If you're complicit in human smuggling, human trafficking, you're out.
Welcome and all American Cartel members, Anons, Facebook friends, Twitter followers, random YouTube viewer, TikTok follower, and anybody else that might be watching. Thanks for joining me. My name is Julio. I am the Theorizing Theorist, and today we're going to be going over talking in code, let's just say. Now, I remember when the New Zealand issue or deal happened, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I can't help you. But New Zealand, something big happened a couple years back. It involved, was it a mosque or something like that? I don't know. Anyway. Secure Team 10, which is usually a UFO deal, right, came out that same day and exposed what it believed to be a hoax, but it didn't expose it in the way that you would normally see something exposed. Now, he talked in code, right? First, he showed Facebook Live and their new ability to edit live. So in other words, as they're recording something live, they can edit something into the stream, or they can do all kinds of magic live. And if you go back and watch the actual video of the incident that happened in New Zealand, you'll see that that's maybe what was implemented, right? Now, it also began to talk about, I think the video was they're not real, or they're not real people, and it was talking about how Google is creating these people out of thin air, pretty much, and it had the ability to do it in a realistic way, let's just say. And he was almost speculating that the person that committed the atrocities in this mosque, allegedly, was not really a person, let's just say. And if you remember, there was an issue with the photo of the man looking completely different, already arrested, compared to what we saw in the beginning of the video. So anyway, lots of issues with that. So you got to remember, they talk in code. Now, Tim Pool is also, and the reason they do this is because they don't want to lose their channels. They don't want to lose their monetization. They don't want to lose everything. Okay, now I do believe Secure Team 10, well, I'm not going to get down that road. If you know anything about Secure Team 10, a lot of stuff happened with him. And I do believe it was in regards to that, because he tried deleting that video, but it was on the way back machine, whatever. So anyway, we're going to watch the rest of this Tim Pool video, so please brace yourselves. I sped it up a tiny bit and kept the pitch, so no worries on that. But please, if you like my channel, donate by checking the description box down below. And as always, you know the routine. To God be the glory.
In a new breaking story from the New York Post, the Biden administration has been exposed flying underage migrants into New York in the dead of night. This is the exact same story we read several months ago about the Biden administration smuggling underage migrants into Tennessee. And the Republicans were like, oh, we're so angry, we're outraged. And now we're learning it's just still happening. Still happening. Man, I tell you, I got another story here. And look, GOP rep Tony Gonzalez says 100,000 migrants are headed towards the U.S. from Central America, and 52 were stopped in Panama because of terrorism ties. How about this one? From Fox News. Jill Biden boosts group that helps illegal immigrants avoid arrest amid border crisis. All right, I got nothing. I can only apologize, I suppose. I've told you these stories all before. The Biden administration has worked with certain nonprofit groups. I guess this one's a bit more egregious. The Republicans have warned about the border crisis, and we heard that 60,000 migrants were coming. Now it's 100,000. Joe Biden is secretly smuggling migrants in the dead of night. What else is new? 2022. Why should I care about the Republican Party? Why? Because they came out and they're like, I can't believe Joe Biden is doing this. And they do nothing. At the very least, I'm complaining at a camera, and you can watch. Where are these Republicans? They should be out screaming. They should be in every meeting saying, what is going on? We demand answers. They do nothing. They do nothing. They're pathetic. So what do we get? 2022. You know, this story is pretty big from the New York Post. And I read it before. We discussed this before. So what am I supposed to say? Well, okay, here's the latest update on the criminal behavior of our corrupt government. New York Post reports plane loads of underage migrants are being flown secretly into suburban New York in an effort by President Biden's administration to quietly resettle them across the region, the Post has learned. The charter flights originate in Texas, where the ongoing border crisis has overwhelmed local immigration officials and have been underway since at least August, according to sources familiar with the matter. Last week, the Post saw 2 planes land at the Westchester County Airport, where most of the passengers who got off appeared to be children and teens, with a small portion appearing to be men in their 20s. Westchester County cops stood by as the passengers whose flights arrived at 10:49 p.m. Wednesday and 9:52 p.m. Friday got off and piled into buses. Bravo, officers. Abolish the police. You think I'm going to sit here and just no. No, I'm sick of the whiny baby BS. They defend the cops as they stand by doing things like this. I watched as police officers in New York defended a political painting in a street with misappropriated taxpayer funds, and those cops defended it. I watched as cops stood by during the riot saying, we're not getting involved. And you know what? I can tolerate the first one, understanding, well, these people said defund the police. But when you add it all together, some of them were later seen meeting up with relatives or sponsors in New Jersey who were being dropped off at a residential facility on Long Island. A post-analysis of online flight tracking data suggests that around 2,000 migrants nabbed after sneaking into the U.S. from Mexico have arrived at the airport outside White Plains on 21 flights since August 8th. I'm sure the cops were all just gleefully defending this. Records show some of the planes touched down between midnight and 6:30 a.m. when a voluntary curfew was in effect, with 2 arriving from Houston, 2:13:18. Okay, we get the times, New York Posts. The clandestine nature of the operation raises questions about how the White House is dealing with a recent surge in unaccompanied minors. The most recent figures from U.S. Customs and Border Protection show that just during July and August, 37,805 unaccompanied minors were caught entering the U.S. from Mexico, sometimes after being abandoned by professional smugglers known as coyotes. Videos show some of the children dropped over the border wall or abandoned in remote areas. And you know why they do it? Because they can. We've got these videos. I think it was, I can't remember who it was. There's a reporter on the ground at the border. May have been Drew Hernandez or Julio Rosas. Sorry, guys. I don't know. I remember seeing it like passively. Luke was watching Tucker Carlson and it was on in the background. But there were these migrants who were just like, the only reason we're doing it is because Biden's letting us. So they come with children. They smuggle them in. They drop them off afterwards because they don't need them anymore. Thank you, Joe Biden. Let's go, Brandon, they say. A source familiar with the operation at the Westchester Airport said the underage migrants typically arrive carrying backpacks and are bussed to locations including the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, upstate Newburgh, and Bridgeport, and Danbury in Connecticut. Around 12:30 a.m. Saturday, it stopped in Syosset, Long Island, at the campus for Mercy First, a nonprofit sponsored by the Catholic Sisters of Mercy that provides housing and services for children and adolescents who are the victims of societal problems, according to its website. On Friday night, one bus left the Westchester Airport and barreled down the Hutchinson River Parkway, which is off limits to commercial vehicles, at speeds greater than 75 miles an hour before crossing the Throgs Neck Bridge. Mercy First is a contract to supply the federal government with residential services for immigrant youth, according to the site. Mercy First CEO Renee Skolaski didn't return a request for comment. Last Saturday, a similar scene began playing out in Jacksonville, Florida, where many of the flights from Texas have touched down before continuing on to Westchester, and where the Post saw a Boeing 737-700 land shortly after 10 p.m. at Jacksonville International Airport. As local cops stood by, bravo, officers, bravo, you're great, yeah. As local cops stood by. After a 2-hour ride, the group arrived at around 1 a.m. Sunday at the Twin Oaks Academy, a juvenile detention center in Apalachicola National Forest near Tallahassee, where staffers were waiting to open a gate topped with barbed wire. Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis expressed outrage at the Post's findings, with a spokeswoman saying, if the Biden administration is so confident that their open border policy is good for our country, why the secrecy? Why is the Biden administration refusing to share even the most basic information about illegal alien resettlement in communities throughout our state and entire country? Washington, D.C. sets immigration policies that do not affect them, and states that lack information about migrant resettlement and do not have the authority to change federal immigration policy are expected to bear the brunt of Biden's reckless open borders agenda. Shut up. I'm sick of these pathetic losers in government. I don't care. Ron DeSantis' spokesperson, bravo. Oh no, the Biden administration is smuggling children into our state. We can't do anything about it. So what do we get? Is this it? We sit back and watch these people commit serious and egregious crimes against not only the United States, but these children? Yep. That's what they do. Do we have any Republican leadership, any leadership at all who's going to challenge this? No, we don't. Ron DeSantis is one of the better ones, but even his office is like, and we don't have the authority to change their immigration policy. How about you, I don't know, track the flights coming into Florida in the wee hours of the morning, and then when someone is caught trafficking children, I don't give a damn if it's Joe Biden's administration. You surround it with law enforcement from the state, you arrest the people who are trafficking the children, and you send them back. You send them back home. You send these kids on a first flight to Mexico City, or you find out where they're from, and then you deport them. You contact the Mexican authorities. You say these children are being sent back. You contact the Guatemalan, the Honduran, wherever these kids are coming from. Instead, what they've been doing is, in the dead of night, smuggling children into different areas of the country for resettlement. They're trafficking children, illegally bringing them in, and no one's going to do anything about it. These kids shouldn't be brought over here in the first place. It's not their fault. They're children. We should figure out, hey, where are you from? When they say the city, then you call them up and say, we'll have them on the first flight back. You'll need to have an authority, the authorities come and pick them up, or a charity can do it. But incentivizing this behavior will only make it worse. They know it. They don't care. They're doing this on purpose. 100,000 migrants are heading towards the U.S. How many of them are going to be keeping children to use as pawns to manipulate the emotions of Democrats to try and get free access to the country? You give an inch, they take a mile. These are bad people. They're smuggling children. And they abandon the kids once they get past the border. As they're coming in, they'll cry, no, don't take my child from me. So they can get special access and special preferential treatment. And the moment they get in, they say, later, kid, good luck. Those are the bad guys. The problem is the Biden administration and basically encouraging it, and the Republicans are just stomping their feet and doing nothing. Ron DeSantis leads the executive branch in his state. Why? I'm sure he has state troopers and law enforcement at his disposal to arrest the pilots of these flights. You think I'm kidding? Arrest them. I don't play these stupid games. You fly a plane trafficking children, you get arrested. Maybe if these people had scruples, the cops too, arrest all of them. They'd be like, yo, I'm not going to participate in whatever it is you're doing. I mean, think about it. A guy's like, hey, I'm going to go do this. I won't name anything specific, but let's say a guy says he's going to go commit a crime. And someone else is like, well, I'm not going to, but I will hold the door for him so he can escape more quickly. Yeah, they're going to be like, yo, this is your friend. You're helping him. Well, all I did was hold the door. All I did was drive the getaway car. I'm an Uber driver. The guy ran out of the bank with the money, jumped in my car and said, cheese it. And then I drove. And I drove him to his hideout. It's because we live in a lawless country. And it's because no one's willing to actually stand up to these people. So long as these cops stand by and let this stuff happen, it'll keep happening. Because those cops are losers. They're corrupt. They're crooked. They're losers. Now we're going to get more. Daily Mail says, speaking on the Real America podcast with GOP chairwoman Ronna McDaniel, the San Antonio congressman said the situation in Del Rio, Texas is the worst I've ever seen it. He said that Moines came to visit him and a number of other lawmakers to get word out about the coming onslaught. She goes, there's about 100,000 coming through Panama on their way to the U.S. as we speak. I ask her, have you caught anybody on the terror watch list? She goes, funny you ask that, Tony, because in Panama we do biometrics and we have apprehended 52 people that are associated with Al-Qaeda. I go, holy smokes. Does the administration know about this? She goes, there's no one home. I'm talking to you because the administration is absent. It's not so much about the administration. It's about good men doing nothing. It's about a plane coming in the dead of night for months, planes smuggling kids, and cops being like, come on in. I wonder how much they're getting kicked back. Some administrative preference or something, or maybe a bonus. Maybe they're off duty and they're getting paid. Amazing. They're going to say, the Darien Gap is a 66-mile stretch of rainforest between North and South America. It's dangerous terrain is part of the reason it's been left undeveloped and why it poses a great risk to people crossing it. More than 70,000 migrants have traveled through the Darien Gap this year, Panamanian authorities have said. Most of the migrants in recent months have been Haitians, many of whom have been living in Chile and Brazil since the 2010 Haitian earthquake. They have IDs, some have passports, and they're abandoning their lives in Chile and Brazil to come to America. Why? They want to extract. Look, I can respect people wanting to come here. I think the U.S. should be open to immigration 100%. I think we should allow more immigration. I absolutely do. I don't respect people who are spitting in our faces, exploiting our laws, taking advantage of us, and the Biden administration smuggling in children, exacerbating the problem. If you want to come to this country, we should have a process by which you can apply and say, here's what I hope to do. And I think that would be fantastic. I think there's a lot of undeveloped parts of this country. Alaska is fantastic. I know not everybody wants to live there, but there's parts of this country in the West, in Wyoming and Montana, we could absolutely use for more industry and economic development. And we can find a place for people to live and prosper here. It just requires planning. economic development, urban planning. So when people are coming through the border illegally and Joe Biden's incentivizing by smuggling children, what happens? Dead kids, drugs, human trafficking, slavery. That's why I don't like this. That's what makes me so angry. If we had a more secure border, these kids would not be in danger. If we had a more secure border, we'd be able to actually help people better. We wouldn't just have people storming the gates. It's funny to me. I saw a video of like a kid squeezing through the bollard fencing, Trump's wall. I saw a video of a guy finding an area where he could squeeze through as well. And the Democrats are laughing like it's so dumb. And I'm like, at least he's trying. At least Trump tried. What are they doing? Nothing. It's just getting worse. No, I'm sorry. They're encouraging it. Fox News says, First Lady Jill Biden touted a private school run by a Democratic donor whose organization has posted tips on how illegal immigrants can avoid arrest while in the U.S. Strength, community, passion. Those were the words I wrote down during an inspiring charla today with SBA Isabel and Rep. Davids and members of the Latino community at Kansas City KS. Thank you, El Centro Academy, for children, for all you do, and for being our gracious host today. I was watching, I think it was House. I don't remember which episode it was, but there is a guy running for office and his campaign manager or whatever makes a video where it's like illegal immigrants are taking your jobs. And then the candidate's like, it's a little hyperbolic, come on. And then someone says something like, why would you run this ad when you're, doing so well with the Latino community? You don't want to offend them. I thought about that. And I thought about, that's a TV show, it's not real world, but the idea is there, right? The cultural idea. And I thought about what we've seen similarly with people talking about Trump being racist for talking about illegal immigration. And I'm just like, how is it that we have acknowledgement right now as a culture that if we say illegal immigration is wrong, Latinos in the United States will be offended by that? That is to imply that Latino Americans are supporting crime. That's the view, I guess. Maybe that's the systemic racism, because I don't believe it. Not entirely, at least. You take a look at the southern Texas border. All blue turns red because many people who are there who are Latino are like, yo, we don't like this. Isn't it amazing, though, that the assumption in our culture and for many of the Democrats is that if you criticize illegal immigration, you will lose Latino votes. There are people who are literally voting for us to no longer have secure borders and a secure country. If you get to the point in a nation where people are voting for its extraction, your country is in a downward spiral. And I think that may be a big component of what we're seeing with the culture war and the conflict, but not the main one, maybe not a large component, I'll put it that way. That you have people who come in and say, I'd like to vote to let even more people in, who come in and say, I'd like to vote. I'll put it this, I'll give you another analogy. You have a house, 4 people live in it. And y'all say, we're all going to pitch in $1 and then vote for lunch. One day, Bob comes into the house and sleep on your couch. And they all decide we're going to vote for what's for lunch, but Bob doesn't contribute. Bob just came in one day. He stayed over after a party and you're like, whatever. You tolerate it. And he says, I'd like to vote too. I mean, I'm here. Come on. Don't I get to eat? And they're like, bro, we pitched in all this money. He's like, well, come on, I'm here. And then you get a couple of the roommates being like, we should let him vote. Come on, he's here. Fine. Then 3 of them vote. We should let Jim come in too. Oh, wait, hold on. You see, here's where it goes. 2 versus 2. We shouldn't let him vote. We should let him vote. Finally, he says, we're going to vote. And the right side says, okay, fine, whatever. He's here. Now it's 3-2. Now the 3 people say, hey, we also want to let Jim in. We all 3 vote to let Jim come in. And now it's 4-2. Hey, we're going to let Bob come in. Now it's 5-2. Now you're in the minority and they say, look, 60% of the House wants to eat Brussels sprouts. And you're like, what happened? Who are these people? And that's what's happening. Now I'm not talking about legal immigration. That's actually great. Let me give you the legal immigration analogy. There's 4 people voting on what's for lunch. Someone knocks on the door and says, hey, I'm the neighbor, Bob. You mind if I come in? And he comes in and they say, hey, Bob, welcome. He says, hey, actually, I'd like to pitch in too and be a part of this vote. And we're like, okay. And then he sides with the 2 on the left and they get Brussels sprouts. But this guy came in, he pitched in, we're all going to eat together. Now, eventually, even with legal immigration, they'll vote for more legal immigration. They'll vote to bring their family and stuff like that. They'll vote to make lax laws. But I'm not opposed to that. I think immigration's fantastic. I mean, Trump said it. Trump said something like, let them all come legally. And I'm like, he's right. When people come legally, we have a process by which we say, like, here are our laws. Please respect them. Here are the rules of the house. Don't bring your friends over and trash the place. Everybody pitches in for lunch. Someone knocks the door. I'm looking for an apartment. I'd like to move in. Everybody says, okay, I think we're good with this. Now, eventually, you get too many people moving in, even if they're moving in legally, like I said, then the original 2 people are going to get pushed out. But if people are all in agreement and people are welcomed into the community, that's how it works. Some people might not like the idea, but tough questions, I guess. Now, if you owned the house, it's your house, you have more authority. There's a lot of questions about, the analogy is not perfect. I'll put it that way. We're at a point where we're so far beyond this analogy even. Joe Biden is smuggling children. Cops are complicit. They're helping make it happen. Welcome to your human trafficking administration. The Biden administration is trafficking children, and they're being helped by cops. Amazing. What more can I say about this stuff? That's not already been said, and that we're watching and just getting worse. Even if the Republicans get in, they will do nothing. Sorry to be pessimistic on this one, but reading the same stories over and over again, it's like, wow, no one's done anything about this. We need better leadership. We need our laws to be